So right now, the situation that we have with COVID-19 is not like something like 2007. Okay, so in terms of supply of commodities and staples, we are good. We've learned our lessons from that, and we've built up stockpiles of wheat and rice. And the prices, there's not too much price pressure on that right now. But where we could see some pressures going forward is if certain countries start to make more or implement more protectionist policies, which is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, which is based on limited data. And we've seen that in some markets, certainly in Southeast Asia. And that's what we don't want. We don't want a country to put this in place, some sort of protectionist or more trade barriers, and then another country to follow suit. As long as we can have open dialogue with as many markets as possible and keep the flow of trade going, then we'll be fine. And not to forget, though, where countries have higher supply and less demand, where there's countries with higher demand but less supply, can we reduce some tariffs on key commodities and key products to enable that flow of those products to go forward? But right now, I'd have to say that we are fine. It's just as long as countries don't begin to implement more protectionist measures, then we could be in trouble.
Yeah, it's interesting because here in the UAE in particular, we have a lot of guests coming on essentially saying to us that the government has been extremely responsive to the industry, whether it be the Carrefours of the region, talking directly to the government in terms of those supplies and the supply chains or others. But where do you see potential hotspots and problems?
Okay, so right now what we're seeing is the definition of all workers within the food and beverage supply chain. So they have to be considered absolutely essential, and the same level as healthcare as well. So whether it's in truckers, in transportation, or in logistics, or those people that are employed in manufacturing places, manufacturing sites rather, and across the whole supply chain, even in retail with shelf stackers, putting the products on the shelves. We need to ensure that what's paramount is that their health and safety is ensured, and we can guarantee as much as we possibly can, and that we have to designate these as essential workers to allow them to get the food where it needs to be.
What changes in the food sector post-COVID-19, in your opinion?
So COVID-19 has shown some vulnerabilities in the food supply chain. I mean, right now there is quite a bit of resilience still. So if you hear those saying that it's not resilient, it is. We're still getting the food that we need. But post-COVID, we're going to have to look at what some of those vulnerabilities mean for some manufacturing that is primarily manufacturing one market to export in another. And if there's some trade barriers there, what does that mean for them? Do we have to look at sort of diversifying our risk and putting in more manufacturing sites in different countries? And then looking at, how in a crisis like this, how can we redirect much of that fresh produce, which is going to waste? How can we get that to consumers at the bottom of the pyramid, those who are desperately in need? And even in the best of times, they struggle with their food choices. And now it's even more amplified.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.